Good. Okay. I'll start out just, I'll give you guys who our practice squad, guys that we're fortunate enough to get back. Duke Williams, Cam Lewis, Eric Magnuson, Eddie Yarborough, Nate Becker, and our rugby player, Christian Wade, will be back. And then Kyle Pecco is back. We just got him done as well. So Kyle back to the practice squad. Yep. So all those either will sign or have signed back. Some of them were en route. So, and then also Jason Kroom will go injured reserve, and Kirk Coleman, we're signing Kirk back.
And is Christian that allocated spot?
Yes. Yes. So we'll have 11 on practice squad.
And just to clarify, that means what?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because it was confusing. He'll be on our roster, on our practice squad the whole year. We can't bring him up, nor can any other team. So he'll be here for the year, and then, get him into the off season, and we'll see where he grows to.
Is that a 2-year program?
Yes, it is.
You have the same kind of situation next year as you did going into this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we kept them all off season, which would be our plan,
Okay.
we come to the final cut next year. He either makes the team, we could put him on regular practice squad, which would only be 10 spots, or we could use the 11th spot again.
Were you surprised to get Duke Williams back on the practice squad, or surprised that he cleared waivers?
I was crossing my fingers, but that's with all these guys, not just Duke. I mean, I mentioned it several times, tough cuts, and, a lot of these guys, you never know. I mean, there's guys that always surprise you. Nothing really ever surprises me of who, you're crossing your fingers that you can, you have your wish list of every guy that you want back, but rarely do you get them all back, and, we were fortunate to get these guys.
What did you make of how quickly LaShawn was able to land on his feet?
I mean, he's probably a Hall of Fame player, right there at it. And, I think that's a great fit for him, not knowing everything, but knowing Coach Reed. And I know Brett Veach, the GM, and he had a past relationship. So, I wish him the best. He's going into a team that, I know they got a lot of high expectations, and I'm sure he'll be, a great addition to what they're doing. We truly wish him the best unless we play him.
Brandon, so far, from what you said, there's no QB on the practice squad. Would you like to get a third arm in here at some point?
Yes, we're working, on that with some other positions too. But, and I know there's probably some reports on different positions. I'm not going to confirm until, because these guys have to come in and pass physicals and such before. Hopefully we'll have those for you. Maybe some later tonight, but probably more tomorrow.
Brandon, when it came down to the final wide receiver spot, what set Isaiah apart from Duke and Ray and others?
Yeah, I mean, tough call, I think. But Isaiah, he came in last year and brought some juice to our offense, some explosive plays, whether it was the jet sweeps, and he's a vertical threat, but also an underneath threat. And thought he showed that he could run this offense and fit, in that mold. Again, he made some plays. This preseason's hard because these guys are mixed in with different quarterbacks and different groups. But I thought in his opportunities he did a nice job of showing he had that explosive element and could be. You're always looking for those mismatches. And as you put together a wide receiver, that's probably the group that can be vastly different from size to speed. Who can play multiple spots? All those things go into how many receivers and which receivers you keep, because you also got to think of how many you're going to be able to get to game day and what all roles are they going to do, not only as a receiver, but are they going to help on special teams, as well.
Brandon, what's it like for you now having to have given up on a few of your draft picks? Last year's Polo, this year you traded Teller and then Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I very partial to draft picks, to begin with. So you hate that. Hopefully it's a sign that we've increased the depth and that we had legit competition versus that you missed on them. You guys can determine whether we missed on them or not. But I think I was talking to Vic about it a little earlier, just where we are 2 years later. That 2 years ago was the first 53 cut, that I was responsible for. I think we have increased the depth and the quality of the depth of this team. We're by no means there, and we got a lot of work to do, but that made it harder, this time around as we cut and you start to accumulate these draft picks. And unfortunately, and I like to have a lot of draft picks. So the more you draft, the more opportunity you have that 1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be, may get let go in year 1 or year 2 if you've brought in other guys that exceeded their play.
Were you hoping that Ray was going to sneak through, or did you think he was gone?
Again, all these guys, it's hard. I was proud of Ray this year. I thought he had taken a step. And it was a tight call. As again with a lot of these guys, Duke included, and even some of the other guys that even didn't make practice squad. I thought it was a really good competition, almost from top to bottom. And Ray was right in the mix. And you hate to see guys leave, but you understand that's part of the business. We try and get guys too, the same way that Carolina did, and we'll wish Ray the best.
You take a look at this 53-man now, and you went heavy at 10 offensive linemen, 5 tight ends, and you look at cornerback.
It's really 4 tight ends because Jason, yeah.
You look at the cornerbacks, and there's only like 3 guys there that, in terms of depth on the outside. Are you concerned about that going into the season?
No, only because we got some guys that are playing other spots. I think Saran's playing that nickel, but Saran could get out there, and play. I think he's versatile enough. And Taryn, he is our starting nickel, but I think we have some guys at safety that could come down and play nickel if we needed to. And I think Taryn could at least survive out there and get us out of a game. And we could bring other depth. And we also have Cam Lewis back on the practice squad, so we'll have guys in the hopper, listen, if we suffer an injury, there's a lot of guys that have flooded the street that, we'll be up, you guys will hear about us doing workouts coming up, lining guys up to see who's the next best available for practice squad or who's the next best available for your active 53. You'd love to be deep everywhere, but you got to kind of pick and choose. And again, I don't know if I was talking to you guys or I was talking to just one of you, but I try to be careful not to just say we got to have X number of wide receivers, X number of running backs, X number. There was a lot of scenarios where we could have kept another running back or one less receiver or one more linebacker. It's truly trying to keep the best 53, but I kind of have more like position minimums. We can't keep 2 tight ends. We got to keep more than that. But if it was 5, it was 5. If it was 3, each group has kind of a minimum, but you want to keep the best 53 that you can.
Brandon, on that note, 10 offensive linemen, generally you don't see that. What was your philosophy behind keeping so many offensive linemen?
Exactly that answer was we just felt, those guys had earned it. And again, I don't know if we'll be able to keep 10 all year. Things happen, injuries happen, or maybe, a player that we feel would bring more value and we go to 9 and add one somewhere else. But, we just felt the 10 that made it right now had earned that, and, we'll see how it shakes out. But O-line depth I think is important, and if as long as you're not keeping a guy just to say you're keeping a certain number, we think all those guys that made it earn the right, and time will tell.
Does Mitch Moore's injury status and history, did that play into the calculation of keeping 10 offensive linemen at all?
No, it really didn't. We really just tried to keep the best groups. I think we've got some guys that you saw get out there and play because Mitch wasn't able to play in the preseason. I think we've got pretty good versatility, whether we'd kept 9 or 10 with the guys that will be up on game day. And, you got a Feliciano that played it, and Spencer Long, has played it in his past, and even Ryan Bates came in and played it for us some. So I think we've got enough options. If he were to get hurt, or and same if one of these guards gets hurt or tackle, we tried to keep as many guys that could play multiple spots.
Brandon, all summer long, you've been tinkering with Cody Ford, whether it be at guard or tackle, but now the summer's over, you're into regular season mode. Where's he gonna play?
I'll totally leave that up to Brian and Sean to where they're going to do it. So I think he can play either, and I wouldn't be surprised this year if you saw him play both in season. I don't think we're just going to lock it in and say he's only going to play one spot.
Brandon, where is Tyler Croft in his recovery? How confident are you that he's going to be able to, jump right in despite missing all this time?
Yeah, that's a challenge. It really is. I mean, he went out first day of OTAs, which is not ideal for a lot of circumstances. But I give him a lot of credit. He's handled it. That was very frustrating for him. You're just coming back off an injury and you have that setback. He has worked really hard, with our training staff and our sports science people to get himself back. And it was a decision that I couldn't have told you a month ago whether we were going to leave him on PUP or not. But we felt, talking to the docs and where he was in his healing process, that I don't know which game he's going to be back yet. That's still undetermined. But he's done a good job, and he showed us that he's on the mend, and he won't have that continuity, with Josh and that first team. So that's going to take some time. So it may be that he's cleared to practice and go here, but maybe the coaches don't have him up yet if they don't feel he's ready to run with that group, because unfortunately you only get to take 46, and again, special teams comes into that. What are the other guys doing? But we'll be excited when Tyler is back full go and can get out there, and I know he'll be super excited as well.
It's safe to say you believe that it's going to be less than 6 weeks, or else you probably would have put him on the PUP?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if it was going to be right around there, we would have just left him, John.
How do you feel about your punter situation going into the season?
Corey, he's probably didn't have the preseason he wanted, or we wanted, but he did show us some things last year, and I think it's obviously something we've looked at, and evaluated what else is out there. You also have to take in the holder part of it too. We don't want to be flip-flopping too much, but we'll definitely do our due diligence and keep an eye if we think there is a guy that would be a better fit, or I think consistency is probably the biggest thing that Corey, you guys all see, his leg strength and what he can do. And I thought last season before he got injured, he did some nice things. And I think it's a lot, kicking is a lot like, I use golf analogies a lot, but it's a rhythm thing. And I think, whether it was alternating kicks or whatever, with Corey Carter, I don't think he ever got into a rhythm all preseason. And but he's worked hard. I think he was here yesterday. Even I saw him out there late, just working on the jugs and catching and working on his drops. So he's handled it great. We've told him what we expect, and I expect he'll continue to work hard. But again, like we do a lot of positions, we'll continue to make sure he's the best player for our team.
Brandon, is it tougher to weigh making a player trade with a division rival like Russell, and what goes into kind of weighing that?
Yeah, you're not looking to trade to your division rivals, but you don't want to hold guys if it's not the right time or fit for your team. You got to make the best decisions for your team, and sometimes it works out that especially if it's a vested vet that can choose where they're going to go anyway. You have to, make a tough call, and we appreciate what Russell did. He didn't ask for the injuries he had, and then, we signed Mitch Morrison, some of these free agents, and it was a tough deal because he started, he had started all 4 years before he came here, and then started some games for us last year, and, he worked hard, pro's pro, and I know he'll be a good fit there. Probably gives him an opportunity to play quicker, looking at their situation with what they had going on, than where he was on the depth chart here.
The mark of a team's progress that coaches and certainly GMs will always point to at some point, is it's a hard team to make. And you want it to be a hard team to make.
Yeah.
Do you feel you've been at that point or are at that point with this club, given some of the decisions you made?
Yeah, I mean, I think every year it does feel hard, but I did feel like, and I think you guys pointed out a couple of times, these cuts seem hard, and I don't know how much harder it was than a year ago, but as I said to begin it, Vic, I think the depth is definitely better than where we were, and the better your depth, the harder these decisions get, because you're constantly weighing. You got a young guy who maybe has a lot of talent but isn't quite ready, but you see the potential, and then you got a vet that maybe he's at his ceiling, or maybe he's even on the decline, but he knows exactly what to do. He can execute the offense. He can play multiple spots. It's go time, and those are some of the tough calls that you have to make. Do we go with this young guy and live with some of the growing pains? And you can't be too young, but you can't be too old, either. So it's trying to find a balance of having enough veterans, but the youth is important too. The energy, guys growing and getting better. So that's probably the thing that we weighed with a lot of positions, is not being too old at the position, but also having leadership in the room where we have young guys. We were talking about earlier with the tight ends. We know we went with some young guys there. Having a Lee Smith, with his skins on the wall, is huge for those guys, and makes us feel more comfortable rolling out, a couple of rookies, as we start the season.
Considering all the changes
Hold on, let me.
considering all the changes that you've had from the spring up until now, I know we'll talk to Sean more about it tomorrow, but where do you place the goals for this season? I know you kind of joked that we wish Sean all the best unless we play him. That would only happen if you guys go to the playoffs, but where it could happen if you go to the playoffs. But where do you put the expectations and goals for this season?
Yeah, we want to show growth in a lot of areas, and last year our defense probably carried our team. We weren't good enough in offense or special teams. I think you saw a lot of the moves that we made this offseason, whether it was draft or free agency, was to improve and try, and if our defense was here and those two were here, try to close the gap. And so I think a lot of that wins and losses is we know what Sean and I get judged on. But sometimes there's adverse situations that happen in the year, so it would never do me justice to give you, I expect this number of wins. But we want to be more competitive. We want our offense, to win some more games for us and not have to put too much on the defense. We want to be a balanced team. We want our special teams, to improve and win the field position game. There's a lot of factors. What's our red zone? How's our red zone defense? How's our red zone efficiency and offense? Where are our turnovers? Is our team winning the turnover battle? Those things that generally Monday morning you can point to, and this is why you won the game, or this is why you lost the game. If you win enough of those, I think the win total will be where you want it at the end of the season.
Going off of depth, that was one of your goals. Adding depth was one of your goals when you got here, along with, I guess, adding cornerstone players and fixing the salary situation. And so being able to trade linemen for late round picks, letting go of LaShawn, how is that falling in line with your goal to clear the salary up?
Yeah, I think you don't make decisions, in my seat in a vacuum. Everything matters, and what does this do to our team today, and what does it look like, for tomorrow, which I'm talking about next year and beyond, or the next 2 years. So, every decision, especially if you're talking about players that have higher salaries, you do have to understand what the cash and cap, how that will affect what you can do in coming years. But and draft capital. If you're heavy at a position, you go, well, we've got to release somewhere or another. If I would rather be able to get something back for it than we lost some guys today through waiver claims that I get nothing for. So anytime you can get something back that you can reinvest in the future, it's draft capital. Whether help us move up and around, select players, whatever it is. Those are moves that anytime we can acquire draft picks, I love doing it.
Okay.
What was your evaluation on Tyree Jackson and the decision not to bring him back as a third quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, Tyree's a young player, and he's just starting his journey. Going with two quarterbacks is delicate because one injury and you're either bringing, if you have a guy on the practice squad, you're either bringing him up or you're going to get a veteran. And so ideally you have a guy in-house that's ready to go. This situation, I don't know how quickly we'll be able to do that. We're working on that. What I would say is Tyree's a rookie, and quarterback is the hardest position in any sport to play, and he still has a very good chance to play in this league. He's a great young man. He works hard. I think he's got the smarts and the intangibles, but he's a young player. And also, we had a lot of new parts on offense. We probably didn't, he probably didn't get as many reps as maybe some other guys did, in fairness to him. So, again, right now, we're not bringing him to the practice squad. It does not mean we wouldn't in the future. It's just we'll continue to monitor him, and he could easily be back here at some point. Thank you all.